Do you drive a Sprinter van or a Sprinter van box van conversion like I have with the Winnebago EKKO? I've got a story for you and we're going to talk all about it. Number one, it's going to start with something called a secondary alternator. We had some problems. Where do I even begin? Then we're going to get into why I actually got a suspension upgrade. I spent 1 year on my Sprinter with the dualies, the Winnebago EKKO SPREKKO we call it, with the regular factory suspension, and I finally got a suspension upgrade. I'm going to tell you why. So if you've ever owned a Sprinter and all of a sudden you're driving and you see the engine light come on and your Sprinter goes into what they call limp mode, where it doesn't allow you to move very much or only allows you to start so many times and you've got to get to a service station immediately, that happened to me. So I've been driving my Winnebago EKKO for a little over a year, not too much, but this is the first time I'm taking it in elevation. So typically I'm around 600 feet in elevation, but I went all the way up to the Rocky Mountains, which was fantastic. I got to go up to Rocky Mountain National Park, went to Granby, did all these really cool things, saw amazing sights, which by the way, you guys should totally go to Rocky Mountain National Park, really great national park. Anyways, great time, was up there for a few weeks. As I start to come down the lovely mountains, I get to town and I'm thinking, okay, let's do some shopping, let's have some lunch, let's get some supplies so I can get back on the road. So I stop, grab a nice little lunch, and when I go back to it, guess what? It makes a funny sound. I start it and the whole thing starts shaking. I'm like, what the heck was that? I'm like, that's not right. So I get to an intersection, stoplight, and it just stalls. I'm like, oh, what's going on now? So I was able to start it back up, find a Walmart parking lot somewhere really big where I could just park it just in case. I park it, try it again, no go. Engine light's on. I'm like, you know what? First thing I do, hello, Mercedes roadside service. Let's get you guys on the phone. Let's see what's going on. They sent out a fantastic company. So Triton Towing out here in Colorado, fantastic. It was near Littleton, very, very happy. They came, they looked, they said, you know what? We got to tow you to a service center. So that's what happened. Little scary, never had my rig towed. Was always able to somehow limp it to a service station, but not this time. So the good news is Littleton, Colorado has a fantastic Mercedes service station. You just never know where you're going to be, let's be honest, because it's Mercedes and you got to go to specifically their places, and it has to also service a Sprinter. That's really important. So not every Mercedes service station does that. So got there, boondock that night. Woke up early the next morning because, I'm a traveler, I don't exactly have an appointment. Talked to the service manager, talked to my new service advisor and my technician Grant, which by the way, good job, buddy. Really appreciate everyone there. They were fantastic. Told them my story of what happened and they got me in as soon as they possibly could. And we thought we had a fix. And at the time he said, how are you driving this? He said, are you driving it, like really rough and tumble, or are you just being very gentle with it? And I said, well, I'm more of a gentle driver, because it's a very expensive rig. I don't want to break it all of a sudden. And I've already put about 18,000 miles on it at this point. And he said, I think you need to rev up your RPMs a little more. And I said, why do you say that? He said, well, let me tell you. He said, something's not working well. You need to rev them up. Well, I got it back. And guess what? As soon as I got in it, before I even left the Mercedes service station, it went into limp mode again. So this is where having some amazing technical friends and a little technical expertise myself comes in handy. I'd like to give a huge shout out to my friends at FreedomVanGo. I called FreedomVanGo in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm like, listen guys, what's going on? I've never had this happen before. Also the first time I've been in elevation. And Grant, the owner, says, oh yeah, sometimes that happens. Not all Sprinters have that, but when they do, they do. He goes, what you gotta do is pull the field wire on the secondary alternator. I said, okay, why? So started going to a little bit of discussion about that, and I already had an appointment set up at Owl Vans, to do my suspension upgrade in Denver, which is cool. Owl Offroad, they're fantastic. Big shout out to the service team there too, and Zach work in the office, he's a rock star. So decide, let's pull the wire and just get up to Owl Vans, and because they've got a big shop, and Mercedes had said, this is not a Mercedes issue. This is a Winnebago issue. I'm like, ooh, this is going to get more fun. So, took a drive up to Owl Vans in Longmont up in Denver, and let's see what happens there. So the nice thing is there's a really great working relationship between FreedomVanGo and Offroad. You know, they've worked on this T-Tom for a while now. They've been building some really cool things together. FreedomVanGo is known for their, electrical expertise, and Offroad is known for their suspension and other things. Now, both places do great jobs. I'm going to say fantastic. But it was nice to go there and be out of the Mercedes dealership. You know, maybe with a dog, things are going on a little crazy, and they could talk one-on-one. And because we knew if it happened to me, it could happen to you. And this is important. I want to make sure this never happens to you. Let's get this thing fixed. So we had some conversations. We did agree, like I said, we're going to pull the field wire while we're working, going up and down elevation. And when I say elevation, I'm talking 12,000 feet above sea level. Then all of a sudden I was going to 6,000, then I was going to 5,000, and I'm going to be at 5,000 for a while because I'm going to be in the Colorado, Denver area for a while for the Adventure Van Expo and Overland Expo and other really cool things that are going on this summer. So, get that done. All of a sudden, guess what? I get a phone call from Winnebago service. I'd already sort of posted something online talking about my experience, and they said, you're not the only person this is happening to. We need to talk about this. You're really close to a service center for Winnebago, which is Transwest. And I called Transwest. I said, hey, let's make an appointment. Let's talk. So the good news is, got an appointment with Transwest, but Winnebago service said, you know what? We think we need to order you a new wake speed regulator. So here's what we figured out. There's a distinctive problem with the secondary alternator on the RPMs, okay? So for some reason, it really shouldn't be generating as much as it is because it makes it stop on the Mercedes side if it doesn't start charging at a certain level of RPMs. So let me give you an example. So if you start the rig up, all of a sudden you're driving around and you're under like say 1200 RPMs, but it's already charging, it actually sends a signal to Mercedes going, no go, not a good idea. So whatever level that Winnebago had set it at for the secondary alternator, even at factory settings, was not liking it very well. Now we've heard very similar things like this on the Balmer alternator for the Winnebago EKKO, we call them, but not so much on the Nations alternator with the SPREKKOs, with the Sprinters. This is a whole new situation. So if you have a Sprinter, if you have Winnebago EKKO, do me a favor, if you have this similar problem, make sure you call the service center, make sure you call Winnebago service, put in a ticket. They need to know this is going on so we can get this fixed for everybody. So I had an open service ticket and Winnebago said, we're gonna have your service advisor at Transwest call us, they're gonna order this regulator, we're gonna install it, we're gonna do a test. Well, guess what? Got in, they installed it, fantastic. However, here's the hard part. They forgot to really test it. So I still have to go back to Transwest, have it tested, because remember, I pulled that field wire, and actually Al Vans did a nice little connect for me, make sure it's not gonna go back. They thought that it was working. What was really happening was I had a DC connector installed, DC situation where it actually helps with charging. And so they thought that it was working, but in reality, it wasn't. So we still have to take that next step and go back to Transwest and have them take a look at it and really test it. Now, in the midst of all of this happening, my buddies at FreedomVanGo were looking to find a fix anyways. So this was something, like I said, it was a known issue for them, but when I called, it became more of a panic issue because I'm on the road. I am way far away from home. I'm 23 hours from home. I'm gonna be in Colorado for at least 90 days this summer, all over the place, up and down elevation. And they did come up with a fix. I'll leave a link in the description below for what they're doing. And if you wanna go there, you can get it fixed immediately. I think the cost is around $3,500 for this fix. So it might be something I have to do no matter what. But in reality, we do need to have Sprinter and Winnebago have those conversations because it's a very pricey fix and not everybody may need it. But in the same token, these are supposed to be a 4-season RV where you can go anywhere in, and you want to make sure that includes elevation. Okay, let's circle back and talk about Al Offroad because like I said, they're part of this whole story. So it's been, oh my gosh, Mercedes Service Center, FreedomVanGo, Al Offroad, Transwest, and I knew, like I said, I was going to go back to Al Offroad to get a suspension upgrade, which I'm really excited about because, when I'm on the road, it's hard to get things done. And I called a while back and I got a Van Compass 4.3 suspension upgrade. Super excited about this. I didn't mind the suspension because honestly, I was sort of a boater back in the day. And so the wiggling didn't bother me so much, but to a lot of people, it's a thing. And also what I've learned is, since I've been driving these crazy cross-country trips, the crosswinds are just insane. So, got it put on. Thanks guys, you guys did a fantastic job by the way, really excited about it. Did a little trip and then came back to do the fine tuning. So went down to Levita, about 300 miles away, came back, did some stuff, and they had it set on 3, which is like for highway miles, for all, you know, essentially six tires, but you know where I'm going with this. So I had set 3, and when I did, and I hit those really high crosswinds, she rode like a charm. Telling you, fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. So for those people who are okay with the suspension, once again, it's not bad. And I used it for a whole year because I wanted to make sure I could really talk about that with great authority and say, it's not a bad thing. However, if you're going to be in a lot and you're really going to do some driving, I highly would recommend a suspension upgrade. So here's the status today. I'm at a fantastic orchard, an awesome place called Wild Cider out in Longmont. You guys should check it out. They do allow you to boondock out here. It's really gorgeous. Plus they have great cider and wood-fired pizza. That's another story. But it's not resolved. My particular case is not resolved yet. Will I probably go to FreedomVanGo and get the upgrade? Probably. Do I have an appointment scheduled for when I go down to Florida in January? Absolutely. Should Winnebago come up with a fix? Absolutely. Should we get tested at Transwest to make sure what they thought was going to work, works? Absolutely. So today, once again, make sure you guys are okay out there and safe on the road. That is my biggest concern, is sharing my story about this with my Winnebago EKKO friends out there and making sure that we're all sharing these stories as we go on the road. Did you know that I have a list of all of the mods I've done to my Winnebago EKKO? You might want to check it out. It's at charliegraceadventures.com, a little tab called EKKO Mods. Say, how does she keep her awesome recovery boards on the side? What are those really cool tables that suck to the side? What's that thing in the front of her dash called? What kind of trash can does she have? I know these sound like weird things, but you know what? These are all things I've added and more. So check it out, charliegraceadventures.com, EKKO Mods. Do I tell them that I actually gave the guys popsicles? I don't know. Guys, treat your service people well. That's all I'm saying. When they come to fix your stuff, these guys work really, really hard. And gals, don't forget the gals out there. I love to bring treats and nice things for my service people because they work really, really hard. They do. So yes, have I bought Chick-fil-A for FreedomVanGo, guys? Absolutely. Did I bring popsicles for off-road people? Yeah. Maybe even a libation or two. Something nice. Do something nice because these guys are working hard and they're always on a time frame and they're just trying to turn out this stuff. So just give me a little treat and tell them Charlie Grace told you to. They'll love that. Oh, and pro tip, the pear cider is fantastic. Oh my gosh, they have a bunch of hard cider. They have peach, they have apple, but the pear one, hands down, fantastic.